This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. A bunch of other companies are trying to benefit from all the layoffs at Tesla. On top of a 10% reduction worldwide, Tesla cut most of its team working on superchargers, which seems to have triggered a few other people to quit, and now it has essentially removed all real job postings from its website in North America. But there's plenty of other companies ready to swoop in. A GM rep posted on LinkedIn that it's looking to hire any Tesla software interns that were let go during the recent cutbacks. BP says if there's any real estate partners that have been left stranded by Tesla's decision not to open as many new locations, that they should call it. BP also laid off 10% of its employees working on its global EV charging network, BP Pulse. But it says it's going to concentrate on the US, China, the UK, and Germany, so that explains why it wants those abandoned supercharger locations. Plus, BP Pulse signed a $100 million deal with Tesla late last year to get Tesla-built charging units that are branded with BP Pulse. Revel, a ride-hailing and EV charging startup, said it also is considering abandoned supercharger sites, and another charging startup called EnviroSpark is looking to hire as many people from the supercharger team as it possibly can. The Atlanta-based company just got a $50 million investment and hopes to grow its network across North America, which currently sits at a little over 8,000 charging plugs. Like Toyota, Honda had great results in its latest fiscal year. It sold a little more than 4.1 million vehicles around the world, up 11% from the year before. That pushed revenue to just over $131 billion, which is an increase of about 21%. Honda's operating profit came to roughly $8.9 billion, a 77% surge, and its net profit shot up 70% to $7.2 billion. But remember that Honda did benefit from a weaker yen, and it says its future earnings will be impacted by an increase in spending. The company believes in order to compete in today's market that it needs to make more parts and components in-house, which will allow it to move quicker and eventually cut more costs down the road. But vertical integration requires more upfront capital, and Honda expects its R&D spending to increase 23% in the upcoming year. To help offset some of that additional spending, it plans to boost sales of hybrids, which typically have a higher price tag, and Honda says it's now earning as much profit as a gas-only model for every hybrid that it sells. Last year it sold about 800,000 hybrids worldwide, but it wants to boost that by another 400,000 units this upcoming year. And speaking of hybrids, it's painfully obvious that most automakers were too ambitious with their EV plans. A number of OEMs have pulled back on going all electric, which naturally means more hybrids, and now we're seeing even more of that. Mercedes CEO says its transformation to zero emissions will take longer than expected, and that it will continue to offer hybrids well into the 2030s as long as there's demand for them. VW's CEO calls plug-in hybrids a bridge technology to pure electric. But with demand for EVs quote-unquote plateauing, he says that VW still needs this transitional technology. And the slowdown in EVs is not just impacting mainstream brands. Rimac says hypercar buyers don't really want all electric anymore. So we'll probably see a return of more piston-powered supercars with high revving engines. And good news for car buyers, used vehicle prices in the U.S. are on the decline. According to the auction firm Manheim, used vehicle wholesale prices were $18,150 in April, compared to $21,110 in April of last year, or, in other words, a 14% drop. Analysts say that more availability and better deals on new vehicles is putting a dent in demand for used ones.
When the peace and quiet of your morning commute is as comforting as your morning macchiato, that's what really matters. Bridgestone Turanza EV tires. Less noise for more quiet comfort.
The Biden administration is planning to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, and an announcement could happen as soon as next week. In addition to EVs, Chinese-made batteries and solar cells would also face new tariffs. The administration says it's standing up to China's, quote, unfair economic practices and industrial overcapacity, and it wants to avoid a wave of cheap Chinese EVs entering the market like what's happened in Europe. However, the tariffs will have little impact in the short term since there are relatively few Chinese-made EVs exported to the U.S. That's because they're already hit with a 27.5% import tariff. But there's no doubt that China is shipping its excess production overseas. According to the China Passenger Car Association, China's car exports hit a record high in April, with automakers shipping 417,000 vehicles out of the country, which is a 38% increase compared to a year ago. Companies are mainly exporting vehicles to South America, Australia, and other Asian countries. The record high exports come at the same time sales in China are down. Automakers sold 1.5 million vehicles last month, which is down nearly 6% from a year ago. So, to deal with the drop in China, companies are sending those vehicles overseas. Ford announced a senior management change. Chief Financial Officer John Lawler is being promoted to vice chair early next year. He's been Ford's CFO since October 2020. Lawler is being replaced by Sherry House, who was most recently the CFO at Lucid Motors. She's also held positions at Waymo and General Motors. House will join the company in June and will oversee financial planning and analysis until she takes over as CFO next year. Cadillac racing fans can get a behind-the-scenes look at its return to Le Mans last year. The company partnered with Samsung TV Plus to create the No Perfect Formula documentary. It follows the Cadillac racing team's effort to design, develop, engineer, test, and race its V-Series.R race car at last year's Le Mans. The 90-minute documentary first airs on Friday, May 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Haggerty channel on the Samsung TV Plus app. And it will be rebroadcast several times in the lead up to this year's Le Mans race, which starts on June 15th. But that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by ZF.
Intrepid's NeoVi Pi, allowing automotive engineers to interface, capture, and monitor vehicle data using Raspberry Pi. As a matter of fact, it's the automotive industry's first robust platform for Raspberry Pi, featuring Intrepid CAN-FD technology and Raspberry Pi Compute Module. The NeoVi Pi is designed for automotive environments, allowing use with relative power ranges and applications. In addition, the NeoVi Pi enables you to use the Raspberry Pi for compute while avoiding additional development to adapt to network environments. That makes the NeoVi Pi powerful enough to solve your vehicle network problems, yet small enough to fit in your backpack. One of many Intrepid tools used for developing zonal architecture and software-defined vehicles.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.